and welcome to the introductory episode of Speaking from Experience. This is also going to be released on the Married with Children RSS feed as well. But we want to welcome in studio with us tonight Mr. Brad Rigler.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and Brad, man, we've had to cancel a couple times and reschedule, and we've had some things come up, but really excited to have you on the show. And I'm going to start, first of all, how did you decide I'm going to go into comedy?
Well, my life is a joke, so it just seemed natural fit. No, I've always been in theater, performing. I was a politician, which is, cheapest form of comedy. I've done radio and stuff. I've always been performed in one way or another, but you know what always scared me to death was comedy. Stand-up comedy scared me to death. I would get up and I've done ridiculous things. I've got up there and like I said, I've run for office. I've had, some intense things that I felt completely at home doing on stage, but I was always so intimidated by getting on the stand-up. And so when I got to Indiana, I saw a big sign on the wall that said Crackers. And I was like, well, if there's a club called Crackers, you damn right I'm going to be on stage because I was built for that. That's just me. And so that's what honest to God. And so I said, I will be a Cracker. I will be on stage at Crackers. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen there. And that's where it did. I did everything at Crackers. I got into it, and I'm like I said, I have a background in boxing and promoting boxing, and so I'd always had that. I'd always had the theater thing, and so I basically got in, threw myself headfirst into it. Wanted to produce, wanted to promote. I like the whole aspect of the show. I love performing, but I love bringing other performers together. I love all sorts of different media to do the performance. And this gave me the opportunity to both perform and also promote and put together shows and different types of shows. And so it's really been a great second act.
Yeah, and let's jump right into the roast battle championship that you got going on.
RWC.
Because, my wife and I were lucky enough, we got to be up there Friday night and watch. And I got to be honest, the number one thing I want to say, first of all, I loved what you said at the very end. Okay. Because about
everybody has to have the balls
credit.
To get in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a tough room, especially when you're filled with other comics.
Yes.
And, everybody's having a good time at Vern's. And, sometimes what you brought falls flat, but that's okay. You still have the guts to get in there.
They have the guts to get in there. So, I always put some comics and some people. They don't need to be comics. They can just be people because comics aren't really people. But I can, I put anybody in there that wants to go. And sometimes they don't know what to expect because it's like comedy. You get up there, stand-up comedy, you say, oh, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Just get up there and do 3 minutes, and you hang out with your friends at the dinner table, at the bar, hanging at the game, and you crack them up. Oh, my God, everybody wants to ride with you.
I'm funny.
Because you're funny as hell. And they're like, okay, great, here's a microphone, throw the hot lights on them, stand up there 3 minutes, and you're just, this other day I was hanging out with Paul. Y'all don't know who he is. And it's like, oh, God.
Oh, it's a lot funnier if you were there.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the roast. We get up there and go, oh, well, I bust people's balls all the time. And then you put them up there in the match and in the ring, and sometimes they don't rise to the occasion. Sometimes it's not the right fit for them. Any number of things, but the bottom line is they had the guts to get up there and do it. And unless you have the guts to get up there and do it, you can't look down on that person. And even if you do, you wouldn't because you know what they're going through and you've probably been there yourself.
And, and I love what you just said there, too, because even some stand-up comics aren't great for the roast game because that's not their style.
No.
Their style is either self-deprecating, I'm going to pick on myself, I'm going to talk about that. To go and attack someone else is a special kind of comedy as well.
And you're absolutely right. And I'm so good. It's just like boxing. Styles make fights. It's any sport, right? Everything. Styles make fights. And so some people don't have the style for this sort of combat, this sort of mental, verbal combat. And so the ones and then some dudes will go up there and they will go up against a superior comedian stand-up. And they will waste them, but at the same time, they're barely open mic status.
Yeah.
Because, and so like that gives people the idea like, oh, that doesn't mean anything about anything. It just means in this roast battle, these two got together and this is what happened.
And, and some of those, some were so tight back and forth that it was just unbelievable. And one of those, I love Calvin Turner.
Yeah.
Calvin the plug god. Got to give him, throw him out. But him and Perez were priceless. That's one of the funniest back and forths I've seen in a long time.
Perez is not he's what I'd call very, very new stand-up. He's not, but I remember I saw this guy at an open mic, and all he did was he got up there and he just went after people and roasted them. And I was like, okay, but then when he did his material, it wasn't exactly as memorable. But I was like, this dude is built for the roast game. And so I put him up in there. I said I knew he was going to take it. He's like, he wanted it. And when you want it and you give him a competition, some people are competitive, but they're not like athletes. That doesn't mean they don't have it in them, man.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
drive, And so you say, and you saw it right there. If it's a win or lose type thing, and I'm getting up there, I'm going to give it 100%. And he just went at him. And Calvin hit him back too. Calvin, is ready to rock too. But Perez definitely got the edge on him.
Yeah, and Perez knows how to play even the mannerisms, the demeanor in there. He's that guy that you either went to school with or was on your neighborhood block.
You know that guy.
That like no matter what you said, he had to come back and made you look stupid. Like it didn't matter. Like
that
you
was
were
who
like,
he was.
Yeah, and the whole time as Calvin's throwing shots at him, Perez is just kind of standing there, arms crossed, like, dude, no, that didn't play. And even though it did, he would just downplay everything Calvin had. And so it was just.
I like that you brought that up, the deflex. So what you're mentioning is that this is an evolving competition. It is something, like I said, that we just got done roast. You were at Roast War 4 last Friday.
Yep.
Roast War 5, a Roasted Alive, is taking place November 22nd. And so we have all these different things, but it's still so the comics, the people who are competing are still learning. So what you brought up was something that I don't think a lot of people had, and that is a defense while they're quiet because you can't reply. Right, you got to let the other guy go while he's talking. But like, how do you put up a defense? How do you play? How do you? What do they call it? How do you kind of counter that without saying a word? And he apparently did that because I'm behind the stage. I can't see him. It's interesting you said that.
I would say the two that had the best deflex was him and Blake Hammond. Blake Hammond killed it. I mean, he would just turn to the crowd and give that like sarcastic eye roll, like really, and it played. I mean, it played so well. So. And I got to bring up, number one, I thought Terry Shepard did a heck of a job.
Yeah. Interesting about Terry. Let me tell you about Terry. Terry Shepard, a guy out there who is similar to me in his background. In the bottom line, he's a very diverse background. He's a performer since forever. I mean, he was I'm talking about back in the day. He was like a rapper back in the day. And so like he's gone through all those things. So he has a musical background. He has a fantastic video production company. Does some wonderful work. And this, but at the same time, with comedy is kind of new to him. But at the same time, this kind of really stepped up. But one thing when we do the RWC, we allow them to stop the clock. We have a chess clock between them, and their match consisted of each opponent having 2 minutes each. So Terry had 2 minutes. His opponent Darren Squid had 2 minutes, and the idea was you were supposed to say something, stop the clock, pass the mic back and forth. But he is his first roast, so he just rolled 2 minutes right through.
Which number one, I think threw his opponent off, Darren, a little bit because I don't think he was ready for it. But I almost gave Terry some credit because he did 2 minutes. I mean, and was
2 minutes
with it.
Impossible to do. And like I said, for your first time out, I usually give people 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and so 2 minutes solid. And even the folks that get 2 minutes, most of them are still struggling. They don't realize the amount of time that is, and it's also pacing. Because you'll see some people, I'll be back there. I'll be coaching them behind behind the stage there, and I'll say, "Hey, take a breath and look at the audience." Sometimes now there are guys out there. I'm not saying I said that to Blake Hammond. I'm not saying I said that to Perez. I'm saying there are guys up there who wrote all the stuff. They want to get in all the stuff they wrote because they're writers, as opposed to the Perez who may have more of a general idea of what he's going to say. When they have a very specific written joke, which they wrote specifically for this. So this isn't some rehashed work they're bringing from something else. It was specific specifically written for this event, which is amazing.
And I agree with you. You can definitely tell the difference there between the writers and some of the stand-ups, just in the timing and how they hit the punchline and how they, work the crowd into the joke.
Yep.
And I'll even go back to Calvin. I'll give Calvin some credit. When he started pulling out his wallet and some of the physical things, and it took him a second to get to it, but even some of those little things just to add to that play was a heck of a job by all of them. So how do you match them up?
That's a good question. So first and foremost, we have this requirement, and it's believe it or not, it's the hardest to clear to be an RWC competitor. We have to know for a fact you're going to show up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it sounds really basic, but the bottom line is that when it comes to matching these things up, I don't know what it is. Even the people that agree, sometimes we've had 5 different people who had relatives all out of state pass away suddenly. We hope everybody is dealing well with the losses
of their ninth grandmother.
Yeah, it's awful. We've had sicknesses that are indescribable, incurable until the very next day, and we have car trouble that affects not only their ability to drive a car, but everybody they know. And so bottom line is hard to get somebody to show up. So we get them there, and then I say to myself, okay, is this a 2-minute or is it 3-minute? Do they know how to write? And what caliber are they? And so I wouldn't put, there's some people out there, I say, okay, these people, one will write and one won't. I can't, there has to be a P-res type of talent to put in with somebody who doesn't write because or somebody who writes a lot, because the idea is I can't waste one person's time writing. I know that this person is going to write. Like there's a girl, Sandra Edgel, and she's the queen of mean. She's pretty tough.
Oh, she is.
She'll write 5-10 minutes. I have to stop her. I'll be like, stop. She goes, this is the best one. It's like, that was the best one a while ago, honey. Stop. She writes. So I can't put this woman who's going to spend a lot of her time writing and preparing and thinking about that against somebody that's just like, oh, just show up there and be like, you're dumb or something. I can't do that. So I've got to put different levels, and you'll bring things out. So it just like in a competitive fight or any sort of game, if you put a team in, overmatch them completely, it's not going to do anything for them except beat them down and get them hurt. Right. But if you put them, and they're not that great a team, against another team of equal
experience
stature,
and talent,
then they're going to bring the best out of each other. Each side, they're gonna feel a chance to win. They're gonna give 100%. They're gonna pull a lot of things out. It's gonna be a great show. So it's about size and also the styles. Styles up there, like you can have somebody up there who's just an amazing, like Jeff Toy, who got beat on by Blake Hammond. He is a really talented stand-up with a great character. And in fact, the pictures, he's the most entertaining person in any of the pictures.
I'm glad you brought him up. My wife and I have argued about him since Friday night.
He calls us that in marriage, nothing but turmoil.
Because she didn't get it at all, and I said, you don't understand. Yeah. It's his shtick. It is his character. Yeah. I said, because I thought he was. Now, in the roast battle, Blake destroyed him.
Yes.
But he was as funny up there, just his mannerisms, him trying to fumble through his 3x5 note cards to try and find something, him not being able to hit back. I told her, I said, I'm telling you, I bet he's a killer stand-up just because of kind of the way he held himself up there. I was dying laughing at him. Now, again, if I was judging the roast battle, I'd have went Blake because Blake won the roast. But he killed me the whole time.
You didn't get cheated. You didn't get cheated. That's the whole point. And that's the whole thing so there's different levels to this. There is the who's the best. I want to be the best. But the bottom line is I look at it as producing a segment. I'm putting 2 performers together that are going to produce a segment. It's not about like you got to be the winner or else you're done. It's not like that, kid. Like either bring me a W or you're walking home. It's you guys get together. You got 3 minutes. He has 3 minutes. I basically am looking for you guys to produce 6 minutes. Can you guys produce 6 minutes of entertainment for the audience? And so and from that we will extend that time out by awarding a winner and creating some drama. But the bottom line is I want them to work well together. So I'd put Jeff Toy back up there for sure because he's entertaining.
Oh, absolutely. And it was funny to me. He almost threw Blake off in the end because Blake's like, I'm out of things to hit you on. Like you've accepted everything that I've hit you on, and I'm almost out of material now.
Because he's just like, it's funny,
and it was so entertaining. So but I'm glad you said that, because that's been the debate between my wife and I, because it's like, she goes, I just didn't get it. And I'm like, it's his whole character.
Yeah.
You just have to buy into the whole thing. And I do want to say also, you brought up Sandra Edgell, and you talk about her writing. I watched her. She wrote, not only did she have, I don't know how many pages when she showed up, she wrote the entire night.
Yes.
As every comic performed, she was writing. She was just on the paper the entire time. And it was amazing to me to watch her work, because she didn't stop.
Nope. She does not stop.
And it didn't matter. If you'd have done 3 more rounds and thrown her with anybody else there, she had something to slam them on, because she was watching all night long.
She was ready for anything. So she's she's embraced it. So it's given, it's not for everyone in the scene. It's certainly not saying anyone is excluded, but the bottom line, like we talked about, there are different people, there are different styles, different performances that will, complement some people. But this is a style and a type of performance that she has and will continue to just excel at and be fantastic at, because she writes, she gives 100% to it, and she is serious about winning. It's not fun for her. She's really up there trying to win 100% of the time, and it's entertaining to watch. The kid she was up against, and I say kid because he's going to be he won't be 21 until the first week of November. Griffin Shira. And Griffin is he as well as somebody but he's smart aleck. He's having a lot more fun with it, but he does think quite a bit of himself, and it gives a bit of character to him.
It does.
It gives him a character, and so you root, but you don't. It's nobody here is so compelling you root for them. So they've all got to have like that thing about them that makes them entertaining, and he has a character that I find entertaining.
I do too, and I think he has that natural deflection too, because it's almost like he's too arrogant or too naive to even realize that she's attacking him. That's what I saw all night long. It was like, oh, yeah, well, this. I mean, it was like he didn't even. He was. Yep. He was so far away from it that it was like, you can't even touch me. And you could see in Sandra, she's like, no, I'm hitting you. Yeah. I'm hitting you, but you're not reacting.
Yeah, that's true. So, he is kind of like, you're not there. I'm just waiting for my turn to speak. But he's talented. I didn't want to make that match because I thought those two would be great for down the line. But we've got but like I said, those were two of my favorite. Josh Springer versus Stephen Riley. Stephen Riley is a really intelligent, talented performer, and he gives a lot to these roasts. And so, like, he gets up there, and so sometimes his, I think the only thing that's keeping him from being completely undefeated is his volume. And I saw you had to turn my volume down. I just have a very verbose.
Yeah, I do too.
You know what I mean? I know you do. You're a principal. You better. So I mean, but if he had more of that stage presence, I think it would have. I think it would just be. He would just run over everybody. But Josh Springer stepped up. His first roast and was fantastic. He was one of the guys who wrote so much. I had to say, hey, take a breath and look at the audience. And when he did, everybody, like eat up some of that time with some of the, physical non-spoken,
and let the crowd laugh and support you and get in with you.
Yep.
Sarah Huntington.
Yes.
I'll be honest, the surprise of the night for me.
Yeah.
Like Sandra, when she walks up there, she looks. I thought we were literally going to box. I thought they were literally. I mean, she's coming up there.
Wants to kick his ass.
She's ready to fight. Yes. I mean, so when she's walking up there, I'm like, oh man, she's got it.
Yeah.
Sarah bounces in there like she got lost trying to find the restroom, and I don't mean that derogatory towards her.
Might have,
like, she was going to the restroom and she walked back through the curtain, and now I'm in this cage and I'm going to do a roast battle. But killed. She absolutely killed. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorites and definitely one of my surprises of the night.
Yeah, I tell you what, the interesting thing about Sarah Huntington, Jacoby Ray, who was her opponent, Jacoby Ray is a professional comic. He is a pro. He runs he runs his own show that he brings around to all these different places. I believe it's called Psycho Circus. But he does do a lot of comedy, and he does it professionally. So I was surprised two roasts back when she approached me and said, I want to go against that guy because they don't really know each other. And I was like, why is that? And she goes, because he reminds me of like every other guy I dated in high school. So I know everything to hit him on. And I was like, if you think so, great, And I was like, Jacoby, the girl wants you. She goes like, okay, I'll never say no to that. And they put him in, and boy, I don't think he knew what was coming.
No, I mean, that's like I said, I sat there and I thought, man, this is going to get ugly.
Yeah.
But it went ugly the other way. I mean, she was ready.
Vicious. She's a vicious chick. So and you know what? She's all these comics have a lot on the ball, and they and when properly motivated, they can really display some talent that I think is incredibly entertaining, and everybody has to get down and check it out because it's unbelievable.
It really is. And I want to ask you this too, because
Sure.
this was a conversation at our table there Friday night. Do you think, I know you're not judging, you're behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Do you think it should be a knock on any of those getting in if they're reading from what they've wrote?
I tell them, I leave it. I don't tell. Yes and no. I think that. I think now that I've heard that said several times. I always tell the comics whatever they feel comfortable with, because time is an issue. Mm-hmm. So when I go up there and I say to a comic, these comics, they work the same 5 minutes for months and months and months and sometimes years, and it takes a long time to even get to that point. And so to tell these comics who think of it like that, hey, just go up there on stage and write me 3 minutes about this one person in a competitive environment. I don't want them. I want to get the best material I can. And if that's what they feel they have to have, yeah, then I won't ban them for it. But at the same time, I could definitely see a judge using whatever discretion they wanted to say, hey, I don't like that. Especially if they're against somebody who's doing it all off the cuff. And then obviously that performance is going to stand out over the one that's written. And
I think it goes back to too, because it didn't bother me as much.
Right.
But it goes back to what you just said with styles. Some of those that are writers, I would rather them go up and have the paper and be very entertaining and be able to deliver that hit or that joke than they're up there fumbling through their words and it kills the show. And
that's
again, there's some. P-Rez can stand there and he can hammer on you all day long, but that's his style too, is to come back. Yep. And so, yeah, man, I thought overall, and just to say this, if you've not got a chance to go down there and watch it, it's a blast. Yeah. It is an absolute blast all night long. And if you love comedy, not only do you get to see a lot of local talent, you get to interact with them. Yeah. Because Vern's is a great little place. Yeah. It's not big, but as soon as they're coming off stage, they're right there with you. And it was great for us. We've made a lot of contacts for the podcast and to talk to some people, but it was just, man, it was an exciting deal to be around.
It's like nothing. And we have a cage. So
it is.
A lot of people, we put the stage in a actual cage. It's kind of like the same sort of cage as far as style of chain that we used. It was an ode to WrestleMania 2, Hogan versus King Kong Bundy. The large square, you guys know. And so it's easy to see through the cage. We have lighting and all of that stuff. I have a championship belt that we will be awarding at Roastamania live January 30th at Crackers, and definitely want to get down here and do a show with you before then and talk about it, maybe bring in some of the guys and ladies to do it there. But yeah, every month we're doing it at Vern's, leading up to that point when a champion will be crowned live at Crackers. And we think this is something that's going to pick up. And it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. The guy, Jeff Oskey, we just signed him to go against Patrick Murray in the main event of our next bout, of our next Roast War 5, Roasted Alive. So get down there, Vern's, November 22nd. We can't wait.
And can I also say, no cover charge either.
Zero. It's free. It's a free show. Literally, you're staying. I don't even know what's on television Friday nights. Maybe if it's like November, end of November, it's not going to be November 22nd. I think football is pretty much cooked, right?
Yeah.
College football is cooked. So yeah, you got no excuse really. The World Series is over, and if you've never seen this before, see it before we end up on Netflix or YouTube and been like, oh, I could have gone to that, but instead I don't even know, Blue Bloods. Is that what people watch Friday nights? I don't know. But
I was at Vern's. I don't know.
But yeah, and I would tell you something. Thank you and your wife for making that drive up there, man. Because don't you usually do something with the football game or something?
I do. I usually have some supervision, but some things changed, and I was able to get away. And we wanted to be up there. I mean, and like I said, I plan to be at the rest of them here on out to be up there to support. And like I said, in Indianapolis, there's bars that charge you a cover if they're playing a jukebox.
Yep.
So to come in and that's just the city, man. Yeah. To walk in Vern's and no cover charge. Right. I'll tell everybody here, the wife and I both ate down there. Great food, great beer, and not expensive.
Nope.
We had a great night out. Got free entertainment.
The food is, and you wouldn't think of it. The food is good, and I would tell you something. You're talking about free now. It's free now. But that's not always going to be the way it is. So what we're going, like I said, we're moving into Crackers. The Crackers for January 30th. We're doing we're talking to folks out in Pittsburgh and KC, our people in Cincinnati and down in Louisville as well, to try and expand this out and make it more of even a regional promotion. And so as we do, it's going to be things. It's going to be something that's going to be ticketed. And get in now, see what it's all about now, see where we're at, and be a part of it before you hear about it from somebody else, which makes you feel like, I missed it.
Yeah, I missed the good time.
Missed it.
But it is a great time. So get down there November 22nd at Vern's to check it out, Roast War Championship. And I'm going to throw this idea out to you. I love my guy Juice.
Yes.
I love him. But I think a celebrity, podcaster roast battle at one of these would be terrific.
OMG.
You lock me and Juice in the cage.
You are calling out Juice?
Oh, yeah.
You're calling out Justin Kelly right now.
I've got zero concerns about calling out Juice Justin Kelly.
Let me tell you something. You're talking to the right guy, because I certainly am interested in said battle. I think that would be amazing. We'll put that together without a question. That's a main event. That might be a Roastamania event. I'm not kidding. I am super psyched about seeing that. If you're serious, we'll get a hold of Juice. I'll get a hold of him right after this and be like, "What's going on, dude? You got called out.
Are you going to man up?
Are you going to sit down and just take that?" I doubt he will. I mean, he's got.
Well, he'll show up.
I mean, his wife is watching. He can't back down.
Yeah, he'll show up just to take the beating. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
That's my boy, Dustin Roller. He's a principal. That's not PAL. He's not your pal. Isn't that what they say?
No. No, not for Juice. Coming. No, I would love to. I think it'd be a blast.
I love that. We are making that happen, or we're shaming. Or we're going to encourage Juice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Plenty of shame and encouragement.
We are going to squeeze. We're going to get some juice out of this, man.
Yeah, the juice isn't always worth the squeeze with him, but we'll come after it.
You have to tell me, folks. You guys got to come out and see that one, because here's one thing we'll do. We might take some clips. But here's what I will say. It's you had to be there kind of show.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to be there to see it live. If these two this is, I tell you what, man, I drive down here every day just to make that thing happen. This is incredible.
We're in.
I love it.
We will force Juice into the cage with me, and let's get it.
We'll do it. All right. It's a deal.
All right. There we go. So I want to jump back to you and doing some of your stand-up. Okay, because I've not got a chance to see you live.
That's why you put me on here. If you did, you'd been like, that guy, I would get him. He couldn't get me a ham sandwich.
But that first time that you decided, I'm going to Crackers and I'm going to do this, what's it like? Because I've not done it. It's always been in the back of my head as something I think I would want to do, but I've never done it.
Right. So it's the first time we give you an applause when you show up for your first time, and we do. We say it's a first timer, and we give them applause because it is amazing. Because most of the people get up there. I mean, you'll see some people get up there and be like, "Oh, let's go up there and do it." But then everybody who does it, it's a big deal for them because they thought about doing it, and then we know it's a big deal for you. And so it is. It feels so good. You're worried. It's not going to work. You're worried that this is going to happen. You're worried. You want to do the best you can, and you get up there, and it is. You remember it. I remember going up there for the first time. I can tell you this. I had an advantage because of a performance background. and I'll tell this to you, and if you go do it, you will remember me saying it and still not be able to do it. It's just the way it is, and that is I knew how to relax and have fun, because I figured what's going to happen if it doesn't go well. I did it. This is something I'm going to do to remember, and no matter what happens, I'm going to enjoy this time. And so I did. I enjoyed the hell out of going up and doing it. But most of the time, any sort of performance, you're up there, you're nervous, you're getting up there. It's just like talking to people in your job. You're going to have a good advantage because not only do you do, all the great podcasts and whatnot, but you're literally up in front of schools of people and parents and the community on a regular basis. So that's, those little jitters will probably get past you. But at the same time, you're going to want to do great. And, like I said, just have fun. And that's the one thing. Get up there, relax, and just say, hey, I'm here. And the more fun you have on stage, the better you'll be. Guaranteed. Because if you're having a good time,
everybody's going to have a good time.
And if you're not having a good time, guess what? Neither are they. They'll be like, I'm worried.
This is awkward.
We want to laugh for you, buddy. We want you to get through this, please.
Who's your favorite comic? Who inspired you? Who did you love watching?
Well, I can say growing up, I was a kid. I mean, I was down with, obviously the first guy I ever caught my attention was Andrew Dice Clay, because that's what I was saying, the nasty, dirty rhymes. I saw the first time I saw like somebody who wasn't a band get like a stadium tour and sell albums.
Wasn't that insane? I mean, when he was, selling out Madison Square Garden, like
couple nights in a row.
And I know that there's some other comics now that have done it, but he was a mold breaker in that whole deal.
Yeah, and so the people who do it now, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from them doing it now. So God bless them for doing it. I'm just saying this guy did not have the internet. He did not have, and it wasn't one of these things where he was. It's one of these things where there was like people begging, like trying to paper the house to get those last few seats filled. I'm saying like he would sell out several nights in a row, and then fly to Phoenix, sell out in Phoenix, and then go. I mean, anyway, it was a big deal. So I was like, wow, that's really cool to see. Somebody being able to do that. Then Chris, all the guys, going up from there, I would watch, we would have the Laugh Factory live before Saturday Night Live. It would go on Fox from 11 to midnight, and I would watch that, and I'd watch the guys go up and do that. I just always was drawn into it. But I can tell you that one of the most exciting things recently has been this kid, Anthony Jeselnik, and to see his dark, dry, deadpan delivery. I really love watching his stuff. Bill Burr, somebody who's really exciting and cool to watch. And even Louis C.K., it's interesting to see what, he's going out there and do every year he comes up with something new. And if ever there was a time that everybody wanted to hear what he had to say, it would, he's created, he is the show. They're all the walking show. And I like that. Obviously Dave Chappelle.
Oh my God.
Dave Chappelle. That guy is incredible, and he says something like I don't know if you've seen his new special, but his he's saying something. He basically is trying to put together, trying to destroy or at least strike back against this, we're offended culture. This, we're all been wronged in political correctness and what amounts to just destroying the freedom of speech, which is disgusting, and we needed comic to stand up against it.
And that's another thing, going back to the roast war.
Yeah.
And
time.
They, these two people, Carl and Cage, they go at each other. And the best part is, as soon as they walk off, they're all taking pictures together. There's zero offense, which you expect with comics. But that, to me, what you just said, and I agree. I've seen Dave Chappelle's newest special, and the political correctness has gone way
out of control.
Too far, because every comic is on eggshells.
Everybody is on eggs. That's the thing. It's not just the comics. It's a reflection. Comics are just the reflection of the audience.
Yeah, that's true.
So everybody's on. So people might even people are worried they can't find things funny because they're worried they may be seen smiling or laughing, and that could be as bad as having said it. And so people are upset. So people are we're still the United States of America. We're still, and it doesn't matter what you think or what you are. The bottom line is we have something that unites us all in common. We can be a-holes and still allowed to go to work and go and we can, and so sometimes you got to listen to a lot of what in order to get to something worth hearing, but we'll always have the freedom and the right to say it. and we won't allow people to decide what we can and cannot say. And we can hear something and say, I don't want to hear that again.
That's where it's gotten to me. I don't understand. Like, if I don't enjoy what you're giving me, I turn it off and go somewhere else.
Bye.
And, that's the funny thing, even when we talk about, former comics or older comics, but what cracks me up is they want to dig back into their past. Like, that was a different time, a different place. I mean, you pull up old George Carlin or old Richard Pryor. Yeah. Now, I love it.
Yeah.
But you talk about what now today would be offensive, they'd run them out of the club. I wouldn't let it happen.
And so some of these things, it's weird because when you hear about the outrage culture, what they're doing is they're pulling these clips off of off the internet and whatnot, and these things can be easily edited and taken out of context, and so oftentimes people will make jokes that are supposed to be shocking, or you're supposed to be like Jeff Toy, you're supposed to be making fun of yourself. Look, I said this, what an idiot you are, and that's kind of the joke. Yes. But like, if you take these things in a vacuum and you say, look at this line, and this person said it without any context or understanding any of that stuff, then you're like, I get it, because you hate all of this people or those people or whatever. The bottom line is you're searching for something to be offended about, rather than looking at how you can improve what's happening right now, and what I mean by improve it is not by finding somebody saying something that upsets you and being like, I'm upset. That's not doing anything except ruining my fun.
And comedy is all about taking those stereotypical things that may be a stereotype, may not mean you're that way or someone else is, but those stereotypes, and expounding on them and pointing them out and making them into a way that everybody can laugh about them. That's what I told my wife. You talk about Jeff Toy. I told her, I said, we live in a barn in Crothersville, Indiana. Jeff Toy is like our cousin. Like, that's what I love about his character. Like, I have cousins that look just like Jeff Toy. Yeah. And it's funny to me that he's accepted that. And, like I said, played it all the way through to his Dale Earnhardt t-shirt he wore to the roast. Love that.
Right.
But it's okay. You don't have to be offended by that. Some of the jokes Devon Shoemaker had, and played back on it, those are hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's not, and that's what I loved about your show that you put together.
Yeah.
I never at once felt awkward at laughing at anything that was said that night. No. Because
it's a roast. And that's one thing we say, it's a roast. So it's supposed to be this. So now when people talk about safe spaces and all, it's, great. Maybe there should be. And, great. But you know what? Not at a roast. And so when you walk into this place, these two people are going to be nasty and insult one another. And so guess what we're saying is that, you want a safe space, there's got to be a safe space for everything. And this is a safe space to roast the hell out of somebody and not feel bad about it, because we wouldn't have you on the show. We didn't love you. We didn't think you were talented. So let's go up and have some fun. And it's also pushing back, because we can't live in this sanitized culture anymore. It's happened. How many times have just in my my number of years, the most recent times I see it is following the 9/11, all the horrible things that happened there, and rightfully so. We went through a period of universally a lot of patriotism, and that's wonderful, because this is a wonderful country, and God bless the men and women who's fighting to defend it. I believe in it, I'm proud of it, but I think that perhaps it was taken so far in some corners that then there was this backlash against it. And so then people, anytime that anything gets taken too far, there's a backlash, and it's just like, disco's here, okay, now disco sucks. It's the same thinking. And so one of the things is there's been outrage culture for so long that it's bound to boomerang back, because this is the United States. We'll get into something for a while, but after you start beating it down our throat, we're like, guess what? We're going to go the other way, and that's where roast war comes in.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about it too, because so much, even the social media stuff that's put out there, and social media is a major double-edged sword.
Yes.
Obviously, with what you do, with what we do, we got to have social media. It helps us. But that outrage culture loves it as well. What I loved, all the pictures that were posted, all the stuff from the event, there's nothing negative on it. No. It's awesome. I mean, everybody is positive. Everybody that's been there loves it. And that's what I mean. If you go out November 22nd to Roast War 5, I'm telling you, you will leave having a great time.
we're going to have let me tell you something. It is going to be a great time. And you know what? It's not going to be like something you do anywhere else, because they wouldn't do this show on Comedy Central. They wouldn't do this show on PBS. This is not something that you're going to be able to see anywhere else. But we do it in a competitive fashion, because I think of it like that's why I call it RWC. It's kind of we're kind of throwing it out to UFC. We put it in a cage, because you know what? This is a competition, and so they are competing, and they do want to win. So it's not cheesy like some of the roasting you see on television, which is cool. It's just a different type of genre. It would be like if that was the WWF, we're the NWA. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying. Now Jeff Toy gets that. And I know you do too, brother. I was an NWA man more than Hulk Hogan. Come on now.
And the other thing, I love about it, and going back and, I was listening to Howard Stern the other day. Love Howard Stern show.
Yes.
Listen to it all the time. But Jimmy Kimmel was on there, and he was talking about he was invited to roast I'm going to lose it. Microsoft. Bill Gates. Bill Gates. Thank you. Lost it out of my head. But he was invited to roast him, and he said it was the most awkward thing ever, because he said Bill Gates didn't think it was funny. Like, he said, I don't know who planned it, but like Bill Gates didn't know he was going to be roasted, and he goes, I got all this stuff, and I'm slamming him. He said Paul Allen's over there just dying laughing, thinking it's the funniest thing ever. He goes, as soon as I walked off and was done, they escorted me out of the building.
Goodbye.
And he says that was his one and only roast. But that's what's so fun about what you're doing is instead of what you see on Comedy Central where it's one person getting hammered, it's a back and forth.
Yes.
There's that response piece. I love the chess timer. I love that they can respond and come back and forth. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It is. And like I said, you know what? The goal is that you have people who want to get up there like yourself, who are like, we want to get in there, and there'll be a lot of enthusiasm about that. And then there'll be these other guys out there and gals that will be out there, and they, you'll have people develop, become fans and hope for those people to move up the ladder and whatnot. And you'll see them like, there's all kinds of guys. This kid Nick Covert got his first win, and he's been wanting to get it the whole time. I know the guy Zach Gardner. He was the one. He was the one against Devon, and let me tell you something. I think that could have gone either way. So you're going to see people out there that are cheering and wanting to get into this. We're actually going to include a feature where we sell popcorn at the event, and as long as you purchased it from the event, you can throw the popcorn.
Oh, I love it.
at the stage. And so we want to bring it up and make it everything that everything they don't want us to do. We want to give some people a fun, safe place to do it.
Yeah, it's a safe place to not have anyone be offended.
Exactly.
If we want to talk about safe spaces, it's a safe space.
We can go have fun, and that's what we're here to do, and to heck with it, and it don't mean nothing except a good time.
November 22nd at Burns.
Friday, November 22nd.
And do we have a December date set?
Well, let's just deal with November 22nd right now. The next big one to keep in mind would be January 30th for Roastamania at Crackers. However, I don't know, Dustin, I don't. I just don't think people are out there saying, "Oh, okay, 2 months out, like listening to the podcast, stop the car. Let's just write that." I'm saying November 22nd, November 22nd, November 22nd. And remember, Roastamania at Crackers will be awesome. But come and check us out. Check me out, Brad Rigler, Rigler on Facebook, or at Rigler Up. Stand Up Rigler is the best way to get a hold of all information about the RWC.
When's your next set? Just stand up.
Tuesday. I will be at Crackers on Tuesday for the big open mic. If you want to do that open mic, I suggest you do. Get on the website and take a look at the information there about doing your first stand-up set. And then I'll be hosting all weekend at Crackers. So Thursday through Saturday, you feel free to get down and check me out there. But definitely hit me up on Facebook. Maybe I could even squeeze some tickets depending upon the night.
There you go. Perfect reason to reach out. And again, November 22nd at Vern's. Get out, go watch these guys. Like I said, it is a blast. When will the matchups for November 22nd be released?
I'll be releasing them. Like I said, I'll be releasing them shortly. I can't say Jeff Oskey versus Patrick Murray, big heavyweight fight there. That's going to be great. And I tell you something, I should have brought the belt the cameras here. I would next time if you will have me back.
Oh, absolutely, anytime.
If you will have me back, because I think this is a blast. I will bring the belt, and I'll even bring, if I'm lucky, I'll bring Sarah Hunnigan. But I guess your wife might not. It'll be somebody.
And then I think we have to say that if we're going to go January at Crackers,
Yes.
me versus Juice,
Big.
we need to get Juice down here beforehand just for some pre-fight.
There has to be promotion. We have to listen to me. We're gonna. I run these things. I promote the hell out of it. I promote it like it's a fight. We're gonna go. We'll go to different locations.
We'll do a little weigh-in, little tail of the tape.
We're gonna have to have a signing, a contract signing.
Yes.
Do we have to do all of those things?
Oh, I think so.
At different, and we could definitely probably have it either at one of the studios or maybe a bar or maybe at a restaurant or a church. You know, I'm actually sponsored by the Mormons. That's why every time I'm on the air, I have to say Church of Latter-day Saints because Jesus is an alien or something. I don't know. Get a check. Boom. Paid.
As long as we get the contract and then Juice can't back out.
That's what I mean.
I think we have to do it.
Juice is going to do it. First of all, I want you to say like I'm a push, but Juice has got a pair. He's gonna get.
Oh, he'll come in.
He likes to race. He was giving this guy who's obviously out of shape hell because he won a race. He's like, I beat him at a race. It's like this guy likes to win.
Oh yeah, he's competitive. Oh, it'll be on.
I can't wait, man. This is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hit Juice up, and we'll get that going.
It's on.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm ready to go
I
after.
love
him.
it, Dustin. I love it.
All right, what else, man? We're about 45 minutes in. What else you want to talk about?
You talk to me, and you just go. What you can do is we can take it off topic. You can ask me, but why don't we talk about something other than everybody knows about the RWC and my comedy, November 22nd. But let's just say, why don't you just start talking to me about local stuff or news or whatever? Just start hitting me. See what I'm all talk.
Well, let me ask you this because I do find this interesting.
Okay,
you've got a great presence. You've got a great stage presence.
I like where we're going.
I'm giving you compliments.
I like it. Okay.
You got a wife and kids at home too.
You doggone right, I do.
Do you ever turn this off?
Turn this? Oh, well, when you have a wife and kids, turning off is the easiest thing.
Yes.
That's rule number one. So I'd say I spend most of my life turned off. I do. So I have the benefit of having married a woman who is exponentially more successful and intelligent and a much, even believe it or not, a much more imposing, formidable personality. And so she's serious, and so there is no and she's very competitive. And so I always say, when we got married, I thought we were like allies. Now I was like, we're like two countries that are now allies. That's not how she sees it. Her forces are in a constant state of readiness. They run drills, simulations.
She invaded and took over.
Oh, let me tell you something. And she imposed, and she expects that sort of thing. It's like, okay, great. I mean, I'm dealing with like the menstrual industrial complex. I don't know how else to describe it. She's running the show. So yeah, I do. And like I said, when you get to the kids, we have two beautiful children, and like I'm teaching them to ride the bike. I'm teaching the boy to throw the football. I'm dressing up in all sorts of ways I didn't think with my daughter. Let's talk about take something out of context years from now.
Yes.
But the bottom line is that I'm if anybody asked me what I was, I would say I'm a dad. I'm a husband. And then I would talk about the comedy afterwards.
And that's the coolest thing, man, because it's the same thing here.
Yeah.
We got a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old that runs around, and
That's it.
and it is the coolest thing. No matter what I get to do and the fun stuff I get to do, the best is coming home and sitting down and playing.
Yeah, just seeing them and touching them and talking to them and knowing and just being with them. It's amazing. Loving those kids, and they remind me who I am, and so I keep grounded through them, because the bottom line is, first and foremost, I got to think about being a father and all the decisions I make. That's why when we do things like the RWC and whatnot, I decided, I was like, okay, we're going to go a certain way, but I don't want to be offensive for offensive sake. I want to put it in a show that it can be explained why this is happening, for reasons like, because I want to be a good example for my children, and I want to be around people who feel the same.
I think that's another great point because, sometime I never felt like that the whole night that we sat there. It was never, I'm just going to try and be offensive or, over the top just to do it.
Right.
Every joke had a reason why I'm coming at you like this.
Exactly. And so when you see, sometimes you hear about comics, you go to a comedy club, you go to a Crackers comedy club who always, by the way, Crackers always books great comics for the air. They've been around 40 years, so they know the region. But you go to a comedy club, you don't know what you'd expect. You might get somebody up there that is dark and smacking it around, and it's like, oh, I didn't know I was coming in on that. What if the other people didn't know they were walking in on this? Here it's a roast battle. It's roast war at a cage. You're knowing what to expect. In fact, you would be upset if we didn't deliver what we were promising.
Right.
And so that comes back to being a dad because people will be surprised. I don't like the idea of the, children being put down or people who don't want to be made fun of or would be upset by it for no reason, being made to feel awkward or upset or excluded or disliked. That upsets me. So, and that's because I'm a dad. I'm a softie now. When you have those kids, you turn soft.
It all changes.
Turn soft.
And I agree with that too. That's the whole thing. You gotta want to be a part of it in order, to take it the right way. And that's the thing. It's not everybody's up there just hammering on people to hammer on them. They're all involved in it,
and they can take it. And so they're saying I can take it, and they're saying I should be a champion. I'm so good at this. And so people say, oh, okay, great. It's just like football. Like if I saw somebody walking down with a loaf of bread and I went up there and I just tackled them, be like, dude, did you see that guy? He just destroyed that old lady. That's not cool. That's mugging. Yeah. But you put me in a helmet and put me on the field. It's like that guy deserves a scholarship. Right? So it's all about, that's the idea is RWC is there's a time and a place, and it's called the RWC.
All right, I'm going to throw this one at you.
Okay.
Talking about comedy.
Yes.
And to me, it doesn't matter political structure, anything.
Uh-huh.
Are we not, and I'm not talking about just right now with President Trump, even going back to Obama and George W. Bush, has this not been about the greatest 20 years of political comedy that we could ever have?
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons, and this is, yes, and I think one of the weird things about this period of time is it's because performance and politics have just become so inseparable that it's kind of hard to keep up with, because some of the things you put up there, like it's hard to be a political comic now because, I mean, how do you say something more ridiculous than some of the stuff you see? It's just like, you got to watch this, man. I couldn't beat it. And so
no, C-SPAN's becoming one of the greatest channels there are. They're the
like,
battle of Comedy Central.
No, this is C-SPAN, dude. There's no commercials. We are here all day, and that's how it is. And it doesn't matter. And I don't want to give the idea that I'm talking about one side or the other.
No, it's as ridiculous on both.
And top to bottom, man, they are all crazy. And and it's so some people find it funny, but other issue with political comedy right now is because people are genuinely upset, and they are, and I'm not saying without reason, but there are people out there on both sides that are genuinely upset. And so some of the things, even when you think you're speaking to one side, if you're saying something like, oh wow, like if I come up with some right-wing comedy jokes, which I've been known to lay down on occasion, people might say, hey, even those who agree with me over, like, you know what, that just reminds me of something that doesn't make me laugh. It makes me upset. And that's what's weird about the politics now. It's like, even the people you're speaking to, you think, oh, you guys never get jokes for you, so let me throw you one. And you know what, when they hear it, they're just like, you know what, you're right. That just makes me mad. And I'm like, okay, let's get back to my kids and I didn't get enough milk today and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, okay, that's why we paid to get in. Now make me laugh, monkey boy.
When you write a bit, how often do you rework it, come back to it, or have you had a bit that's bombed so bad that you've just said I can't even save it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had it's a funny story. I have a kid that I put on a couple mics, and he calls me. He goes, "Yeah, man, I need to know, how can I step up to the 15 minutes?" I'm like, "You got to work these 5 minutes probably for the next 6-7 months, and I'm talking about at least once a week. And like I said, I like to see them, where they really get serious, get out 2 to 5 times a week, average 3 to 4, and just constantly work the 5, and then then once you've beat that to the ground to the point you know it in your sleep, then you get another 5, and then you go through it again, and then another 5, and that's how you get to 15. So I'll work it. I'll put in different things. I will go into certain mics like jokers, and on Monday night, and I'll come up with an idea, and I'll just go all new material. And about 2 weeks of that, I might get one joke that I'll try to insert into my cracker set, and that's the tight set. And I'll pull this out, and I'll put that in, and I'll see what hits bigger and can more consistently, because it's about consistency. And when you remember your audience. You want a good audience of people that don't know you, that are just, and they're a good cross-section of a typical audience, and boom, if it hits consistently, that's the one you want to keep. But I've had ones that I think are hysterical, and they don't hit. However, like that whole thing I was doing earlier, with the menstrual industrial complex, yeah. Right? Like that's another one. That's something that works perhaps in the different settings. Yeah. So in this setting, we're talking about being, a husband and father and all that kind of stuff, and it's a good joke to pop in there. It might not work in a big room. I don't know. But there are all sorts, but some things work in different environments. And so, but I do have a general cracker set that is kind of like my showcase set. And then I swap out different jokes depending upon the period of time I'm working. But usually I keep things pretty solid in a tight 5.
The coolest thing I think about comedy, right? And I don't know that there's anywhere else where this really happens, and maybe somebody will correct me and tell me somewhere else, but LeBron James or whoever you're talking about, the greatest athletes, right. Tom Brady, he doesn't get better by stepping down and going to a 7-on-7 flag league and right. throwing. LeBron doesn't get better going to the local court and playing pickup ball. But comics can step back, yes, go in those local clubs, even the biggest comics, walk in and work a set and get better and be a total surprise. And, even the biggest names, that's why I still love about – Jerry Seinfeld's comedy doesn't always hit for me.
No, but he's classic.
But he is the epitome of, I'll go back in. If I'm in Indianapolis, I'll walk in crackers and I'm going to roll a set. Yeah. On an open mic. You don't even have to know I'm here. No. I mean, that I'm just going to come in and work this thing and see how it goes. That's the greatest thing I think about comedy is that you're never so big that you can just walk in and just do it.
For you. But for you might be. So now that's interesting you say that. So going to these open mics is fun. It's a blast. But after you've done it for years, you're saying 2-3 nights a week for years, these open mics can get to be a bit of a drag.
Oh, I bet.
So it's just like doing anything. It's just like doing anything, right? So then, and so you might have people who say to themselves, okay, great. I don't want to go, I got to a certain level. I don't want to go, go back there and do those things. But it's the people who go to the open mic. It's the people that do work the new material. They're going to be the ones that stay fresh. They're going to be the ones you want to see their next show, because it's not going to be a copy of the last.
Right.
And you always want to have your go-to material, but you want to keep working in new material so that when people say, "Oh, I've seen him perform," I'd go see him again, because it's not going to be the exact same jokes that I heard him tell 6-7 months ago.
And to go back on one of your favorites, talking about Chappelle.
Yes.
That's what blows my mind about him. Yeah. I mean, he's released like 3 Netflix specials here in the last.
Back to back. It's amazing.
To have that much material, that tight, and I mean, is just mind-blowing to me. And he kills every time.
Every time. Now, it's also familiarity. So this goes 2 ways. Familiarity, they say, what is familiarity breeds contempt, but it also, as a comic, works in your favor. So Dave Chappelle and how he is. And so he can have, it allows him, as opposed to just resting on his laurels, he uses that familiarity to create humor a lot easier in certain, it was still hilarious, it's still great, it's still well thought out, but he's not having to build up, let me tell you my story, and now you will think this thing is funny. He can lead with it.
That's a great point I've never thought about. It's a great point because even some of those big ones, Seinfeld, and like I said, I don't know if I would find Seinfeld funny, if I didn't have all the background as much.
Exactly.
Because if
this guy's whining about what, he's like, just stop.
If just some guy walked open mic and said, "What do you think about The airport. I would probably be like, dude, man, you've lost me. But I build into him. You're exactly right. And you're right. Chappelle's the same way, that he doesn't have to start warming the crowd up. He walks out and he lays it down from moment number one and kills.
Yeah, and they know. And so when he starts, so if he's like, we all know Dave Chappelle likes to smoke a little bit, and so like when he's so now all of a sudden he's like, well, I found myself in an elevator with 3 cops or whatever. It's like, and well, now you didn't have to tell me for like 5 minutes about how your whole history about this, that, and the other. I know exactly why that's funny. And so now, I mean, and obviously, I don't want to downplay the fact that this man has. Especially in his last couple specials, really come out and said some things culturally in a hilarious manner. He's doing some brilliant work. He's a brilliant writer. But I'm saying that familiarity does allow you to start at a different level in the set to immediately get to the good stuff. And so that's amazing. And so also to talk about how a good comic who people love can actually doesn't have to work as hard as one that they don't, because one that they love, they're laughing. So laughter fills time. So when somebody's laughing, you can just sit up there and let them laugh, because that's why they're here. Whereas if you're not making them laugh, you got to keep saying. So the worst thing is you actually end up listening more to the person you don't like than you do.
That's a great point as well. Because even some of those great comics, when they kill a punchline, they've got 1 or 2 little things just to, as you're laughing, to hit you, and you laugh again. And you laugh for a minute or 2, and then they come back at you again. But you're right. When it's not going well, it goes south fast.
It is. And when people, and listen to me, I've been on stage, I've had it go, and you have to do it. Like I said, if you want to be a comic, you don't have to do it if you don't want to be a comic. But if you're going to be a comic, you're going to bomb, and it's a good thing. And to a degree, and but at the same time, when you feel it, you know what it's happening. Like, okay, this is bad. And I've been in situations before where an audience has basically, like subliminally, just taken a vote that they don't value me as a human. And like, it's like they don't clap for me at all. They don't care. I'm like, I have kids. They're just staring back at me like, we'll call the Child Protective Services because you are awful.
Okay. Subliminally voted they hate me as a human. I love that.
They don't value me. Yeah, they have no value. And so it's like, okay, I get it here. And so they just disdain me. And so, but you know what? I went back and I took that's the thing, is if you take a look at yourself as a performer, that's a lesson. Mm-hmm. And so you go back and say, okay, why did that happen? And so they say, okay, well, as a host, why can I say this as a host and they hate me, and the headliner walk up, say something worse, and they love him? Why is that happening? And so there are, some of those questions are easier to answer than others, but they are the ones that you need to be asking if you want to get better.
Is it tougher to play to just a general audience or an audience of comics? What is tougher?
Oh, well, no, buddy. First of all, comics do not want to be near comics. They're awful. They're genuinely one not very funny or enjoyable. Even hilarious ones. No, I love them. They're literally the only friends that I have, and that is not bragging. That is actually embarrassing to say, but they're my friends. But they would all tell you the same thing. No. Don't want to comics when they're in open mic, for example, are thinking about when they're going to go up on stage or what happened when they were on stage. So they're just staring at you because
they're dissociated from all of it.
They have to.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you'll have a couple of, and so they aren't there. First of all, and who cares what comics think? Comics don't buy tickets to shows.
That's a great point.
So to heck with them. They don't buy tickets to the show. So, but at the same time, when you're working a new bit, and the first mic I usually go up is in front of comics, and I listen for laughs in certain areas, and I know some people will be, I will have a couple that are watching me to see what's what, and I can see if something has some, if something resonates. But at the same time, if it bombs in front of comics, that does not mean it's going to be, because the audience, they are totally different. They are going to be the regular audience, the real humans with souls. They have a sense of humor, and they just want to laugh.
And that's the point. They came wanting to laugh. Yeah, there's very few general audience crowds who
No.
showed up and thought, you know what? I paid for this ticket to sit here and be
And not
pissed
be-
off all night long.
But there are more people than you think that literally, it's just like, and that's why I do the roast battle thing, because you know what? Because you can't lose. You're like, you know what? If you don't like these people, you're going to be ecstatic because we're making fun of them. So it doesn't matter. But you will see people there, and they will sit back, and you can see them when they're sitting there. They all have their arms crossed.
Like, you can't make me laugh.
All right, funny man. Go ahead and make me giggle. And it's just like, oh, gosh. Okay, so basically they're just saying it's not a job. You know what I do for a living? It's like, why don't you tell us what you do for a living? Because I bet it's horrible, and I bet you did something much more important than making drunks laugh. Fine. Be like, you're not funny. You know, it was funny that Ed McMahon, that guy had it. Johnny saw it. We all saw it.
So, that's the funny thing is, all the comedy shows I've been to, I know exactly the guy you're talking about again.
There every show.
He is.
Every show. And
Today's
sometimes
comedy is not funny.
No, it's not funny. I'm not going to have fun. What it is normally the wife, somebody drug him there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, who was pulled here by their wife and just wants to prove a point?
That you will never do this again.
You'll never do this. I'm doing you a favor. What he is doing is really lobbying for a little bit of extra attention that evening. He's like, look what I'm doing for you. He's more invested in being like, gosh, Steve did not enjoy himself. I better do a little something for Steve. So when that guy laughs, I've called him out before. I'd be like, did you see that smile? Did you see that? Hey, look. Be like, I guess she don't owe you nothing tonight, right?
Hecklers. How do you deal with hecklers?
Oh, well, see, that's another thing. Just like you talked about styles, some people live for hecklers. Some people don't. So I have a different style about me. Some people, it's like, okay, I've seen, there's a lady out there, Lisa Sears. She's hilarious. She's awesome. And she's somebody who a heckler better watch, because she would just tear him up. But at the same time, it's a different for me, because if this lesbian with MS is up there rocking you, they're like, oh, she's got fire. But if some guy's yelling at me, I'm 6'2", 225 pounds, I say, really a little more, but bottom line is, if I'm there banging back at somebody, people are like, uh-oh, the audience is upset, because they're like, there's two guys that are about to get into a scrap. Mm-hmm. So you have to, I like to shut them down quick. You want to shut them down quick. But at the same time, some people can play with it and make it part of the act. Some people live for it, but you really have to be aware of yourself and how the audience perceives you, in order to choose how to handle that.
I love it. Well, brother, we're at a little over an hour now.
Oh boy!
So let's
Did
remind.
we do all right?
Oh, you were awesome.
All right.
Let's remind everybody, obviously, November 22nd at Vern's, Friday, November 22nd.
Right.
Roast War 5.
Roast War 5.
Roasted Alive.
Roasted Alive. Check us out, Roast War Championship on Facebook, or Stand Up Rigler on Facebook. But let's also talk about the fact that we're speaking from experience.
Yes.
This is the inaugural
It's the first episode.
This is amazing. I had a great time, man.
I appreciate it, brother. And let's get everything ironed out. Let's get Juice, the pressure on Juice.
God, I can't wait. Juice.
It's got to happen.
Roller Juice. Oh, Roastamania. I can't wait. This is what I've been waiting for. We're going to make this thing. This is the one. You will remember this happened.
And I mean, as long as Juice shows up.
And let me tell you something. That's part of, we're going to, not that
you already said the toughest thing is getting people to show up.
I'm not going to push that. I'm just going to say I know he will be there, especially if you buy a ticket, because I have people. And they will drag him there.
We'll get it. Hey, brother, I appreciate it. Like I said, you're doing great things. Thanks for making the drive down. You're welcome back here anytime.
Absolutely.
Let's definitely get some comics down here and push these shows.
I'm on it. I'm going to get some people down here. Wait till you see the people. We just a parade of talent. Bang, 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 bang.
And then, watch out here for obviously Roast War 5, but also Roastamania.
Yep.
Juice versus Roller. So
Juice versus Roller.
We'll get it going.
All right.
All right, everybody, have a good one.